Okay, so later in the video, I'll get to the symbolism and stuff, but first, we gotta get the timeline straightened out. So this is my best understanding of the timeline. We have these two different realities, our original reality and this alternate reality. Now, they're both equally valid, they're equally real. I'm just gonna say our reality and alternate reality just to communicate the ideas. So first major point of divergence, in our reality, Ruth doesn't leave with Alan, she stays with Henry's dad. In the alternate reality, Ruth actually does leave with Alan and takes alternate reality Henry, who is the kid, with her. Now, in our reality, the first thing we kind of see and first thing we learn about is Henry goes with his father out into the woods, and Henry, our Henry, who we've been following this whole time, gets transported to this alternate reality. Now, his dad doesn't, just Henry goes, and now Henry's in this alternate reality. He tries to go home, and he lands on his dad, his alternate reality dad's doorstep, and his dad looks at him. He knows that Henry just left with Ruth, so he thinks this is some kind of weird doppelganger devil child, so his alternate reality dad locks up our Henry for 27 years. So in this alternate reality, the kid, the alternate reality Henry, he grows up, lives a very successful life. Eventually he's called back home because his alternate reality dad has committed suicide. So he returns home, finds our Henry, who's been locked up all this time, rescues him, and eventually alternate reality Molly gets shot. We'll get to that later, but eventually our Henry and alternate reality Henry, they both get transported 11 days after the original event in 1991 where Henry left. So Henry gets transported, lives 30 years without aging, trapped in this cage, eventually makes his way all the way back just 11 days after he originally left. Now he gets rescued by Alan, the kid, alternate reality Henry. He gets now captured by the warden. He gets put in Shawshank. He lives 27 years in Shawshank, never aging, just like Henry. So apparently when you're in another reality that you're not supposed to be in, you don't age. That's one feature. Eventually, finally, the warden kills himself, and alternate reality Henry, the kid, he gets rescued. And remember when the first thing he said was Henry Deaver. Now we thought that meant he's calling this other lawyer. He wants the lawyer to help him, but really he could have just been saying his name. So a couple really interesting things. First of all, remember Molly, when she was originally getting asked about Henry's disappearance as a boy, her breath was fogging. Now, at first we thought she just had this deep bond with young Henry, and she was kind of cold for him when he was out in the cold, but really she could have been tapping into this alternate reality version of herself who was dying in the woods freezing. So that's an alternate interpretation. It's also interesting, so her, in this alternate reality, her kind of revitalization project for the town seems to be going well. Things seem to be better. It almost seems like everyone said all along, our Castle Rock is cursed, and there's a curse, only bad things happen. And it seemed almost like there needs to be this kind of balance in the universe, and in one version of reality, things are largely the same, except evil seems to always win out. In the other version, it's the same at a fundamental level, there's this balance, but it seems like on this, it's just slightly tipped towards good, and things tend to work out for the better. And that gets to the idea of context, where you can have the same essence in both towns. So the surface is different, but at the core, there's 27 years of captivity in one reality, 27 years of captivity in another reality. So slight differences at the surface, but the essence is the same. And it's interesting how within this different context, you can have a completely different perception of whether it's a good town on the one hand or whether it's an evil, cursed town. And there's that idea of memory. And we see Alzheimer's, research, dementia, and this idea that permanence and this quest for immortality and this idea of cycles, it's so linked to our ability to remember, and our ability to remember is so linked to our ability to form an identity and feel that we're a separate being from the rest of the universe. So really interesting how they kind of tied all those things together. And that reminds me, it's unclear why the warden immediately just thought that this kid was pure evil. You could see why the alternate reality Matthew, seeing his son wandering up to him when he knows he just saw his son leave, would think that something was amiss. But why the warden immediately jumps to this kid is the devil, he has to be scapegoated for all the town's sins, it's not clear. And it's interesting that, so there's a Matthew in both realities. They're both pretty similar, but they actually meet different fates. The one Matthew commits suicide. Our Matthew in our reality, he gets killed by Molly. But the warden, who seems very linked to this other Matthew in the other reality, they both commit suicide. So it's interesting that obviously both Matthews, they're kind of each other's doppelganger a little bit, but it seems like there's a broader net where the warden and Matthew in the other reality, they were also kind of kindred spirits. And by the way, if you have a question, my diagram did not help at all. Just comment. I'll try to answer. I didn't know what the best way to kind of try to depict it was. This is what I came up with. Hopefully it helps some people. I think it's pretty good, but I sometimes I think something really communicates an idea well, and it's other people just not at all. So yeah, if it doesn't for whatever reason, definitely comment, and I'll try to respond.